Hello everyone, and welcome to our meditation. And as we go into evoking or exploring, considering the second jhana, one of the features of it is that characteristics of it, is hello everyone, is a feeling of experience of unity or unification. The word is ekodi, which loosely can be described as weaving into one, bringing everything into a oneness of sorts. And so it's a feeling of that of inclusion, that everything is included in such a way that we're not apart from anything and nothing is apart from us. Everything in a certain way becomes subject. There's no object for the experience. And what's operating here is the word inexperience. Logic, understanding, common sense can give us a subject-object distinction. There are things we focus on which are objects, and that's part of normal consciousness. But we experience the world very differently in very deep meditation. And it's not meant to be a metaphysical statement or provide us with philosophical truths about stuff. It's just the nature of experience. And if you're absorbed in reading a good book, or you can say you become one with it. You're just so fully in it that you're not really this. The book is not the object. The letters are not the object out there. You're in the story. There's a unification with the story in a sense. So this kind of not holding ourselves apart from anything, not resisting anything, not judging it, not trying to make something happen that's different than what's happening. A kind of becoming one, a kind of becoming. I like the word whole quite a bit, and a feeling of subjective sense of wholeness, where nothing is excluded. And so it's quieting the mind enough that the activity of the mind that objectifies, the activity, the thinking, the way of the mind operates, that has a there and a here, that has that and this, that has me and mine, has my breath versus just being breathing. My body is a objectification of the body. Just being the body, closer to just being, it's all subject. Now this is not something we have to do as an objective thing. It's something that we settle into, we relax into, as we get more and more absorbed, immersed, centered, settled in our present moment experience, centered here. So this is the world that we swim in the second jhana. And I use the word swim intentionally because floating is the metaphor for the second jhana. So to assume a meditation posture and to gently close your eyes. And to give some care with your eyes closed to your posture, not as an objective thing from the mind thinking about what the good posture is, but from a subjective sense of being inside the posture, to feel what would be nice, what would be a nice adjustment, almost as if, what does the body want? It might be very different than the ideal, the instructions you've had. What posture does your body want to have in order to be centered, alert in the meditation? The body, in a sense, wants to breathe, will breathe without your thinking about it, directing it. The body just breathes. Can you now sense and feel the way that the body wants to breathe, whatever way that is? Putting aside ideals, how it should be. Just allow the breathing to breathe itself in whatever way it happens to be breathing. And within the experience of breathing, what is it in that experiences, those sensations, that wants to be known, wants to be felt? What is it in breathing that reveals itself to a mind which is present and clear? Experiencing your breathing within the wider field of your body sensations. And is there anything in your body that wants to relax as you exhale? And don't do relaxing, but let there be an open allowing for relaxing or softening. And might there be somewhere in the experience of breathing a center point for breathing, center of gravity, the beginning point of the inhale, And in that center point of breathing, is there any feeling of calm, however weak, however brief? Let yourself touch into the calmness of breathing. And as if the calmness of breathing is like a soft pillow for your head, allow your thinking mind to relax and settle into whatever inner tranquility there is. No need to be thinking. The gift to the mind is to let the thinking mind rest. And together with the calmness that's here, might there be some experience of clarity? The clarity, however brief, however small, clarity of awareness. That's in between your thoughts, beyond the edges of your thoughts, maybe at the center of your mind, that makes more room to receive, experience the breathing. To have the sense of yourself as the experiencer, the subject of objects of experience, is to hold yourself apart. There's a little bit of work, effort in the mind to create the subject-object distinction that interferes with everything being subject, interferes with a oneness, a unity, a wholeness. And whatever sense of wholeness there might be, could it be permeated with tranquility, with calm? Could the very atmosphere in which it exists be clear? And breathing intimately part, intimately continuous with calm, clarity, and unity. Breathing in and breathing out. relaxing the mind, the thinking mind, and relaxing into the middle of your experience, becoming your experience of breathing, becoming the calm, the clarity, like someone floating on the surface of a lake, forgetting all concerns and becoming one with the lake, unified in the floating, relaxed, tranquil, clear. We can be floating in the middle of our experience and be so absorbed in it, so centered in it. On one hand, we're not aware of the world beyond our body. On the other hand, we're completely open to the wider world. The experience of unity, wholeness, where the boundaries of our body, boundaries of our sense of self, dissolve. So all things are included in our hearts, a heart which is relaxed, tranquil, clear, whole, undisturbed. Radiating out warmth and kindness, care and love, like a heater that's undisturbed by the cold around it, but which radiates out warmth out into the wider world without reservation, without a boundary to that warmth. So may our kindness, our love, our compassion, our heart's care for this world radiate from us peacefully, calmly, letting everything exist within a calm whole, so that the deeper, non-anxious, the deeper, non-self-preoccupied attitudes of love and care and goodwill can flow from us into the world. May all beings be happy. May all beings be safe. May all beings be peaceful. And may all beings be free. And may we experience each of these things for ourselves, so that we can better wish it for others. May all beings be happy. Thank you. So welcome to this third talk on the second jhana. And it takes a lot of settledness. It takes a lot of capacity to be at ease, to have let go of so much of our preoccupations and agitation. It takes so much healing and settling to come into the wholeness that allows for the second jhana. And so, but one of the things that can get in the way of it is a mistrust of it. Somehow a feeling that that if we drop into these deep states of meditation, that we won't. It's a betrayal of the world around us. We won't be able to take care of this world, others. Somehow we won't be able to take care of ourselves. And sometimes what happens is that people are quick to judge these deep meditation states. in a particular way, and that is they judge them as if this is the true way of being. Like once I go into this, I have to be this way all the time. That somehow I tap into this, I won't be able to function in my ordinary life. And so there's a resistance, there's a reluctance, there's a fear that I won't be able to, be an acceptable person or a caring person or responsible person. And this is, if that's the case, it's a little unfortunate. But what helps to understand is that these are temporary states that are cleansing, that clean us, that provide us a deep sense of wholeness, satisfaction, peace, well-being. And it isn't that we come back into the world with all the qualities, characteristics of these deep states, but we do come back refreshed. We do come back more connected, more grounded, more calm. We do come back more able to connect to people and to our responsibilities in a wise way, in a good way, rather than being anxious, rather than being ambitious or full of our preoccupations. And so it's not a betrayal of life to go into these deep states. And any bit more than it's a betrayal of life to, sit down to have a glass of water when you're thirsty. When you're just drinking water, you are, you're not talking, you're not caring for someone else, you're not doing other things for people, you're not taking care of your worldly responsibilities. You're allowed to sit there and just drink your water. And doing so makes you so much better able to engage in the world in a good way. If we're parched, things don't go so well. So, so to be able to trust this process, and when people finally come into the second jhana, there's a kind of confidence and trust in it, partly because it just feels so right, so good, and there's so little required from us. In the first jhana, there's still something required from us, this ongoing movement of applying and sustaining the attention, the kneading, the massaging of attention and their experience and the breathing. Just be there, come back, stay. But in the second jhana, those kind of the intentional efforts to be and stay, to come back and stay here, kind of it comes to a rest. And so you can, if the analogy of the scooter makes sense for you, that I've used a few times, on flat ground, you might need to, push on the scooter every once in a while to keep the momentum going on a push scooter. But if you can, and if it's a little bit of a slope you're going down, maybe you don't have to kick off so often. But when the slope gets a little bit steeper, you don't have to push off anymore. Now you can just rest and keep yourself centered, keep yourself focused on, staying going down the hill. But you don't have to. The legs don't have to work. The legs can rest, and both legs can be on the platform of the scooter. So in the second jhana, we're kind of like in. Now we don't have to make any effort anymore, and so there's a deep feeling of, I'm arrived, I'm at rest, I'm just here. And one of the characteristics of this is a sense of unity or unification or wholeness. There's a variety of words that come into play with samadhi that can mean unification. Some people will say that even the word samadhi means to gather together, to unify. Ekagata, a word that's sometimes translated as one-pointedness, also can mean a coming into one. And then this ekodi also has the word eka in it, meaning one. Many years ago I read that it meant something like the odi of ekodi can mean to weave. I love the idea of weaving together, weaving into one, into a whole. And sometimes when I've meditated, I've imagined that the breathing is like the warp and weft of a weaving, and some just gently with the weft. I guess the weft is the what puts go the warp. I think I used to weave, but I don't so long ago, 50 years ago. And so just I've imagined kind of moving through the strings of the warp and weaving things together with the breath, and that's kept me nicely engaged. Because sometimes a little bit of an image, a little bit of a imagination of what adds a little bit of kind of engagement or interest to help me sometimes to get concentrated. And then at some point I let go of the imagination because it's no longer needed for that. So weaving together into a whole. And so this quality of wholeness, I love the word wholeness more than unity or unification, because it's just somehow unity or unification seems a little bit more complicated in my mind. But wholeness just seems to hold everything. It's like there's it's all things included in a harmonious way. It's all things have a space. Everything, no outside. And one of the things I've come to appreciate as being, for me, one of the most sacred things is the awareness that is whole, the awareness that has no outside. There's nothing which is intentionally excluded or treated as unacceptable in the wholeness of awareness. And this inclusion of everything, the good, bad, and the ugly, is not a condoning or approval of anything, except the idea that it's possible to hold everything in a tranquil, clear, and unified heart, mind. And in doing so, we're not making the situation worse. From the point of view of deep meditation, to start living in the world where there's an object and a subject, that thought is unacceptable. I don't like that thought. That thought has to go. Even like I have to let go of that thought. All that is, the mind is activated. It's oddly enough, it's work for the mind to have those thoughts. In ordinary minds, it doesn't feel like work. It just seems like what's happened. But in deep meditation, we start seeing that kind of activity is work or strain. It has a kind of coarseness to it. It's kind of unsatisfying for the mind to be involved in kind of this making a subject and object distinction. There's something out there. And the alternative is everything becomes subject, or everything becomes, some people would say everything becomes object and there's no subject. But maybe these two things comes to the same. And so and so it allows the mind to become quieter and more settled and all this. So there are these 5 different characteristics that are primary in the second jhana. There is a calm, and this calm is a calm that has no boundaries, no edges. It's it feels a little bit more like it's the atmosphere. There is a clarity. The mind is clear, the heart's clear. There's a clarity within which all things are occurring. And there is inner clarity, it's called. And then there's a oneness or a wholeness or a unity that is experienced with it all, without this subject-object distinction. Those are the first 3. And then the last 2, which we'll talk about a little bit more tomorrow, is the joy and happiness born from concentration. So even though there's not exactly a subject-object, there's still, in a way, please forgive me, there's the object of of concentration. There's the center. There's a place where the whole is centered on, and if it's the breathing which is the object, then that's the place where we're kind of the scooter is, you're happily rolling down the slope, and there's a kind of a thrill and a happiness, contentment, sense of happiness, goodness, with being on that slope, being in that space, being with the breathing at the center of all things. And so I know I'm contradicting myself with this word object, but I don't know how else is to talk about it, that in this state that there's all subject, and the heart of the subject is the center of the meditation, the centering place of the meditation. In this case, I'm offering mostly these days is the breathing itself. But then with that can come this joy and happiness, this piti and sukha, sometimes rapture and bliss that can come on. And that also, that is part of this wholeness. This also kind of saturates everything. But it has a sense of movement to it, especially the piti, especially the thrill or the joy. It has a cleansing sense of being of movement, or a showering through us, or a flowing through us, or a tingling, or a vibrating, or a sparking, or it can feel like waves moving through us in a nice way. And maybe with every breath, there's kind of a wave. It's kind of a rhythm of this great pleasure that can be there. And so those are the 5 kind of qualities that are mainly there in that highlighted in the second jhana. So there's calm, clarity, unity, joy, and happiness. And that can't be too bad. And not only is it not too bad, it's actually quite healing. It provides a reconditioning to us that many of us are conditioned growing up and through life with a lot of challenges. And this is a very wholesome conditioning that can really shift things in a very, very deep way, more than a lot of other ways that we try to change ourselves. So to drop into this calm, clarity, unity, joy, and happiness, and allow it to help us grow. So thank you. And this afternoon I'm driving up to the Spirit Rock Meditation Center up in the countryside north of here. And I will continue with the YouTube this 7 a.m. from up there. So you'll see me sitting in a different place, hopefully outside. And that'll be through next Wednesday. And so I look forward to being with you from this wonderful meditation center at Spirit Rock. Thank you.